Okay, so this recording is how to make a very basic video game. What I've done with students, I've sent an email with this link. So when you click on it, you're going to be forced to make a copy, and it's going to look like this. It's just very basic notes. It's only telling you what kind of game, a virus game. You're going to need a background and a virus sprite. And this is just a list of the coding blocks we're using. So anything after this, it's notes that help you remember stuff when you need them. If you don't need them, that's okay, but you can just come in here and start adding whatever you want. So we're using almost every block from every option. We have event blocks, so when the green flag is clicked and when the sprite is clicked. Motion, we're using a random location block. In looks, we're going to use a change color effect. And sound, we're using one for our sprite, one for when we lose game, and one when you win game. And the controls, we're using forever block and our if blocks. Remember all of those if statements that we did? If blocks, we're using the stop all and stop all scripts. Variables, we're going to create two variables, one for score, one for timer. We're going to have to set the score and change the score. You know what? We're also going to have to set timer. I didn't think to add that, so anybody can add that. And then the operators, we're going to be using a blank equals a blank. So something is going to equal something else. All right, so with that in mind, we're in Scratch. Here's like the main page. And once you sign in and you just click on Scratch, this little thing here gives you that. We're going to create. So plain background. I said this is going to be a virus game. And I'm naming it the class period that I'm doing the recording in because we're different levels for each class. And blank. All right, so what I'm going to do is clear out the cat. So when I look at this, I need a background. So let's all pick a background. And then I'm going to show you how to make your own sprite. I actually enjoy doing that better than. All right, so since I'm doing a virus, and it can be any background, even if you want to do it on hearts, I'm okay with it. So just find a background. There's a city one I kind of like to use.
Is it Space City?
No, it's actually just like here. It looks like it could be New York. I don't know, or it could be Chicago. Somebody with water. It's not San Francisco though. Anyway, so I got a background. So choose a background, and then we're going to draw a sprite. So to draw a sprite, I'm going to click here where choose a sprite, but I'm going to go to paint. And I am going to click on the brush. And I'm just going to draw. You guys have probably been doing stuff in science. So you can just draw your little virus. So there's my background. I'm going to add little circles. And the neat thing is when you make a circle, if you use the circle with a square here to get an actual one, see how it's highlighted here because I'm still clicked on it. I'm going to Control C to copy it, then do a Control V to paste. And I'm going to click on it just right to move it over. Well, I made it too small. So I can move it around. And I can kind of make it oblong. Let's see, like a little oval. Yeah, a little oval instead of a circle. So, because I want to make it look like a little virus. Oops. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes creating a sprite, and it doesn't have to be that much because we can come back and make any change on our sprite and it's not going to affect our coding. Or whatever we do with our coding, it's not going to make, it's not going to change anything. And I want to spend more time creating the code instead of the Sprite. Because we can come back to that. So that's all I'm going to do for now. All right. And then you don't want to forget about sizing yours. Like this is at 100%. That's really big for a game. So I'm going to try a couple of numbers. That's 50. That's not bad. 60 is a little bit bigger. So think about whatever your size is going to be. I'm going to split the difference. Actually, I'm going to go back down to 50. So you want to create your sprite and set the size. Now, I'm also going to rename it because it's not going to be called Sprite 1. This is my virus. So I changed the name right here, the Sprite. Instead of saying Sprite 1, this is a virus. I've got my size. It's at 50%. I don't know, I might actually go a little smaller because I drew this one larger than I have it. Oh yeah, I like 40 better. So this is where it's just your preference. It doesn't matter which direction you want it to face, where it's at, because remember some of the code that we talked about, we're going to be using when Sprite is clicked. We're going to be moving the Sprite around. So I'm going to pause this for a moment, check on everybody. How they're kind of on creating theirs, and then we're going to move on to coding. All right, if you don't want to completely draw your own sprite, what you can do is come over here and choose a sprite. A really good one to go to is the beach ball. When you click on that, you can just change it. So you can do things like, I'm going to change the inside to that. You can change these dots to different colors. So you can alternate this, and I can even add to it. I can make little squiggly lines. So I can turn this into a virus. It's a little quicker than just doing one from scratch if you want. It's an option. But either way, I wouldn't name this a beach ball. You would change that to say virus. So think of this as an option. If you don't want to just completely draw it from scratch by hand, you can alternate something like the beach ball. And you could do any other shape, but since we're doing a virus, I thought something that looks kind of similar to a virus is the way to go. All right, I'm going to pause this. We're going to start the coding now. So this is when, if you feel like you need to take some notes, come over here to this part and then start adding your notes. So I'm going to walk you through it. What we're going to do is first start coding the virus. So make sure you're clicked on the sprite. That's your virus or whatever it is your project is. So we're going to first program how we click this. So remember, we're going to come to events, and we talked about when this sprite is clicked block, we're going to use this because we want to do some things. We want our sprite to move to random locations and do a few other things. So if we look at motion, which blocks would be best to use if we want our sprite to move to different places?
I would say like a glide or a move.
A glide or a move? Do you mean a move like this one or go to? Here's glide. Let's try this. That's not bad, but it looks kind of like it's flying. What's another good option? See, move is only going to do this. It takes steps. That would be if it's walking. So we don't really want it to walk. And turning, it's only turning. It's not moving around. We want it to go. So we got to glide for 1 second to random places. What is another one that takes us to random places? Look at your blocks here.
The glide to random. The go to random.
The go to random. Let's try this one. I'm just going to click on the block. See how that just kind of moves it all around? And this one makes it looks like it's flying. So instead of the glide, let's use go to random location. And I need to turn that. Well, it's not going to work to do that. I'm just going to turn it all the way around until I get it the way I want it. There. All right, so this will take us wherever we click on it. So right now, if you got these two blocks, you can click on your sprite and it's going to go to different places, okay? So try it out. It's kind of quiet and sad, isn't it? Usually when you play video games, they make noises when you click or play or something. So let's go to sound. We want it to make a sound when we click on it. So I'm going to click on choose sound and I'm going to go to effects. Please don't go over alert. Alert is really loud. Oh, I know. That one's not bad. Oh, that was annoyingly loud. That's not bad. Oh, wait. That's not bad. Oh, I'm going with coin. I like that sound for my virus. I'm going with coin. And by doing that, I'm going to bring over start sound. All right, I'm going to test it. So there we go. I like that. That might be good for your rocket. All right, so now I got a sound and I click this. Viruses change, right? Don't we always hear about how they're always changing? Each year there's always a new flu strain and COVID. I want my virus to change. So remember way back in the beginning of Scratch when we were looking at all these blocks, I talked about this change color effect. Because we've done a lot of stuff with costumes, but I made this. I really don't want to make a bunch of different costumes. So I just want to change the color effect. So I'm going to click on this block, and I want you guys to watch what my sprite does. It just starts changing colors, and I don't have to create a bunch of different costumes. So I'm going to add that to this. So when I click on it, it's going to go to a random location. It's going to make a sound and change color. All right, I think that's pretty cool, but it's a video game. I need some points, don't I? Who wants to play a video game if you don't have any points? Yeah. All right, this is what we're going to do together. We're going to come down here to the orange variables. We're going to be creating two variables, one for score and one for the timer, because we're going to have a time limit on our game that you have to play in. So everybody click over here to the orange variables. And we're still coding everything in our sprite. So I am going to make a variable. One is called score. And I just always leave mine for all sprites, just because depending on if I want to do a game and I might have a 2-player game, I need other sprites to give you points. It just makes it easier in the long run. And then I need a variable for the timer, which I'm going to get to the timer in a little bit. And I'm going to leave it for all sprites too. And since these are checked here, you can see them. Now the really neat thing is if you don't want them lined up like this, you can move these anywhere you want. I usually leave them side by side or put them over like this, just because I know my sprite could go just outside the lines. And so let me know when you've created your two variables. One says score and one says timer. Are we good with that? I don't want to move on unless you've got these created.
My sound is
You're trying to make some changes? All right. Do you have your variables?
No, I'm trying to put my sound.
Okay. Are you gonna keep up if I go on? Okay. Now we gotta score something when we click on our sprite. What are some good options for points when I click something? I need a number. So what do you guys think are some good numbers that you could get? Or points for clicking on the Sprite? 10, 5, 1. So you gotta pick a number. Everybody pick a number. Think about your number. Maybe it's your favorite number, maybe it's your least favorite number. Because I want to change my score by something every time I click on it. I'm gonna do an easy 10 on this one. Look at that. I'm getting my points. Woohoo! I'm up to 60. Okay? So when I click the Sprite, it goes to a random position. It makes a sound, the color changes, and I can get 10 points. Very good start. So now, every time you start a game, what do you normally see where the scoreboard is? Should I have a number here? Well, what should it be? I mean, unless you're giving them numbers, does it typically reset when you begin a game? You turn it on the first time? If it's not something you can continue? So to do that, we're going to have to change, or not change, but we're going to set our score to 0. But I need to tell it when to do that. I want to use when I click the green flag. When we click the green flag, think of it as turning the start switch. I want to set my variable to 0. What is the name of my variable I'm setting to 0? You can tell me. Even if you think it's wrong, let me just hear what you think the variable is going to be that I'm setting to 0. Look at your 2 variables. So what are my choices? I've got score and timer. So should the score be set to 0 at the beginning? All right. So I'm going to click on this. I see my list of variables. I'm not renaming anything. I'm not deleting it. So my score. I want my score. Let's check it out. Go to 0 when I click the green flag. And then I can start my game. All right, so that works. Is everybody good to this point? We're going to come back later to do some more coding in this, but right now, we need to do some major coding with our backdrop. So I'm going to switch pages. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so here's my backdrop. I'm going to switch up here where I see backdrops. I don't need this plain white one, but I need 2 more backdrops exactly the same. This is our game playing backdrop, but we need something different when we win and when we lose. So I am going to duplicate this one 2 times. Okay? Now I'm going to make this. Oh, I know why it's so large. I've got it enlarged up here. All right, so this one, my city with water, that's my starting background or my playing background. The second one, this is going to be my you win background. So I'm going to rename it you win, and I'm going to type that in here. And to do that, I'm going to click on this T for text. I'm going to pick a color because I already know that is not going to work for me. I need something nice and bright. I'm going to go with red. Here's the neat thing. You can select a font. So these are the options. There's not a lot of options, and we really don't need anything in another language if we don't know what we're doing. But I like the pixel because it's like a video game. So when you click on here, you get that teeny tiny cursor in the blue dots. So I can type in you win, not win, but win for that game. Now, if you click just on the outside, and sometimes it's hard to click right on here. So I just did it now. There. You grab the end and you can make it bigger. You don't want them to question that. So I've got you win right on my screen, and I've labeled the backdrop you win. What do you think I'm going to do to this one when I relabel it? If I've got one that says you win, what do you think this one might say?
Lose.
You lose, correct. I'm going to rename it lose, and then I'm going to type that in here. You could do the same color, you could do a different color. I'm going to let you decide. You lose. I'm going to tap the very tip there, the blue dots, and make it bigger. And then I just kind of center mine, but you can, depending on your background, I had one student needed to put it at the bottom of the screen because she had stuff up here that kind of blocked it. With my sky, I can put it like in the middle. I'm going to pause this while I check on my class. Okay, so we've got our labels for our you lose, you win, and our original one. So now let's start coding our backdrops.
Mine's at the top, just don't say like you own the score.
What are your backdrops?
Like you know at the top to say
The variables. All right. So you have. What do you have? You have to come to your variables, and you have to make a variable. You have to make one that says score, and then you make one that says timer.
Oh, so when I deleted all my thing, it deleted everything.
Did you delete the Sprite? Yeah, you just need to create the variables, and then you'll be able to. All right, so we're going to first program our backdrop when we win. So I'm going to come over to events, and when the green flag is clicked, we want it to come to our original backdrop. So for me, switch backdrop to city with water. So it's whatever your backdrop is that has no typing on it. You want that to happen the first thing when you click the green flag. And then what we're going to do is control our score, and then we're going to do the timer. So I'm going to come down to control. We're going to need that forever block that I talked about earlier and an if-then block inside there. And if you notice, this little shape right here for the if we do something, then it's going to do something else, is the shape of an operator. So our operator is all of our math blocks, the green ones. We're going to bring over the one that is something is going to equal a number. So I'm going to bring that in here. Now originally, I said my score was going to, you were going to get 10 points each time you click on the virus. So when my score equals a certain total is how I'm going to win. So I can have this to be anything I want. I'm going to go ahead and go with 60 because it's a nice even number. But think about what your point system is. Are you working on a 5-point system, 10, or 100, 1? And make your total number to win something that will work with that number. You don't want to say you get 1 point each time you click on the virus, but you have to have 100 points to win. You want to make it a fun but playable game. You don't want it to be people too frustrated. So I need to come over here to my variables. I'm going to bring over a copy of score to put it inside here. So if my score equals 50, then I'm going to broadcast the message game over, because that means I clicked enough, 60, I clicked enough to win my game. So broadcast message is at the bottom of our events and right above controls. And it just says broadcast message. It doesn't even say anything. I'm going to create a new message that's called game over. And that's just because I've got different things in this message is going to tell my program to stop doing. So it's going to broadcast the message game over. If I got this score, I want to change my backdrop to the you win, because that means I got the number of scores that I want. And I want to play a sound that means I won. So in sounds, there is one that's called win. They have a win and a lose, because those are popular for doing video games. It's kind of a neat sound to have, but if there's something else you'd rather have do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a sound for lose, because we're going to need that. So that one, when I lose. So I'm going to bring over play sound until done. I don't want the lose one. I got them up here twice. I want the win one. And once it does all of this, it switches to the backdrop you win, plays the sound win until done. I also want it to stop all. And that's at the end of our controls. And I'm putting that inside the if block, not outside of it. So if my score is 60, yay, then broadcast message game over, switch backdrop to win, play sound win until done, and then it's going to stop all of this. Okay? And then I'm going to try it out. I click the green flag, my backdrop's changed, clicking on my viruses. So play that, and it gave me this background. Now let's see if my score changes to 0, if it resets, and if my background changes. There we go, when I click that. All right, I got it programmed to win. I want to start the program in case I lose. And that's going to be our timer, because we're going to give them only a certain amount of time to play the game. So right now the timer says 0. So I'm going to bring over, when you click the green flag, come down to my variables, and we're going to set the timer. So I'm bringing over my set variable, just like I did for score, but this one is going to say timer. So this is going to be a countdown. We're going to give them so many seconds to play. We can start out with 10. We can change that number. I'm going to do 10 just so it's quicker while we're doing this. But when we do the game for yourself, you can decide, do you want to give them more time? Maybe they have to get more points, or they have to do more things, or you want to give them less time. We're going to use another set of control blocks, a forever and another if statement inside, because we're going to have to set up variables just like this. So, and it's going to be based on the timer, and then broadcasting a message for game over to you lose, and the losing sound. But another thing, before I get too far ahead, is for all of this to work, we're going to need to tell the timer to change. Just like our score changes by adding when we click on it, we want to change our variable for our timer with a negative number, because we want to take away. We want to take away 1 second at a time. All right. So what I'm going to do this is put this on timer. So we're going to set the timer to 10 at the beginning. We're going to change timer by 1. And then when I look at the operators, we'll bring over the exact same one like I did before here, except this is where it gets to 0, because we're counting down and we're controlling, the variable timer. So you can see how these look similar right here. If that, we're going to broadcast the same message, game over. But this time, we didn't get enough points to win. The timer ran out. So we have to go to the background, you lose. And we want to hear the song, you lose. And then we're going to stop the scripts in this. Instead of saying stop all, we're going to stop all of this scripts, because we don't want the timer to keep going. So I know this is a lot right here. I'm going to test it. And Notice how quickly it went to 0, and look at this. I had no time, so good idea. And I did this on purpose, knowing what would happen. I'm going to bring over 1 second wait, because we don't want it to go so fast we can't play. So I'm going to do a couple of these, but I want to let my timer run out. You can see this stops, but look at this, I can still move that. And it's going to still say I win. So we don't want that to happen. So next class period, we're going to talk about additional coding for our virus Sprite. So we can't continue to play the game and still win. That you'll either just win or just lose. And then that'll be the next recording.